Welcome back, everybody. So my next movie review for you is Alien 3. So Alien 3 was released on May 22nd, 1992. Its director was David Fincher. It was made on a budget of 65 million US dollars and made 175 million US dollars in the box office. The cast in this movie consists of Sigourney Weaver, Charles Dance, Chris Fairbank, Charles S. Dutton, Lance Henriksen, Brian Glover, uh, Danny Webb, plus many others. So in this next installment in the Alien franchise, we once again follow the character Ellen Ripley, where she crash lands on a planet called Fluoride 161, which is basically a whacking great big prison. It's a whole planet dedicated to being a prison, and once again, it isn't long before the evil alien known as the Xenomorph starts to terrorize people on this planet. So, my thoughts on this next installment in the Alien franchise. I have to be honest with you, this is an interesting one, and it's going to be an interesting movie review for me because I watched this movie about an hour ago, and I've watched this movie many times before. Not many times before, but I've watched it before, and I never really liked it that much, to be fair, until this morning, and where I was looking at this movie a little bit harder. And I have to be honest with you, it's not the best movie in the world, I have to be honest, but it's not a bad movie either. And I'm going to get into those reasons right about now. So here it is, Alien 3 movie review. Like I said at the beginning of this video, I was very much on the fence with this movie until this morning. It's not the first time I watched it. I've watched this movie about 3 or 4 times in the past. I've never really been a fan of this movie. But the reason why that probably is because I'm such a big fan of Alien and Aliens. And this movie does take a different kind of tone. But by the time I got to the end of this movie, I can honestly say that I was actually entertained by this movie, but I'm also not going to lie to you and say that there is some massive problems in this movie as well, or dislikes, which really kind of will knock down the rating of this movie for me. But what I do enjoy about this movie is the fact that right from the start, they are not afraid to show you that this is going to be a darker movie. It does feel more like a horror movie compared to, say, like Aliens, which is more of an action movie. Again, there is an adjustment to have in this movie, and once you get past that adjustment, you can actually just kind of focus on watching what you're seeing. For me, it took about half an hour for the adjustment to take place because I was such a fan of Aliens, and I would like to have seen something a bit more on the lines of Aliens. Once you get past that half an hour, you go, okay, they're not going down the same route as Aliens, so let's just carry on watching this. And it does work. I like the darker kind of feel, and the fact that they weren't afraid to show you very quickly in this movie of what kind of tone or route or premise they were going to go down. Other things I really enjoy about this movie is the fact that they go back to that single alien in a community again, and you get to see exactly what one alien can actually do in a community. It is full wrath, and to be honest with you, it creates absolute carnage and hell for these prisoners on this planet. And I generally, again, even though a lot of these prisoners get killed quite brutally, it's actually a very nice touch, because in Aliens you never, yes, they take out like the soldiers in there, but you get to see how effective and efficient this actual alien is, and then why the human race is exactly so interested in this species. I get what they were trying to show you. Other parts of this movie I really liked is once again Ellen Ripley, or Sigourney Weaver's character Ellen Ripley in here. She is very different in my opinion than what we are used to or what we've seen from Alien and Aliens. She has a very different side to her. She's got this more of this battle hardened kind of no F's given in any way, shape or form. Now, here's the most interesting bit of it. If when she finds out that there's an alien on this planet, she goes, oh, there is that initial shock, but then she goes, okay, there's an alien on this planet, so what the hell are we going to do about it, and how the hell are we going to kill it? And I generally like that. She kind of really has a very, very different persona to her, and I really like that. She's got this no fucks kind of given, to the point where she's quite happy to get out of this crappy life that she's going through, all this hurt, trauma that she's gone through with these experiencing these xenomorphs or these aliens, and she's quite willing to end her life or get somebody to end her life. That being said, when it push comes to shove, she does step up to the mark very, very quickly, and she almost got those kind of leadership kind of skills. She's like going, I know what I'm dealing with here. This is how we're going to do it. This is what we should do. We can't let this thing escape. It's as simple as that. And I generally liked what she did with her character in this next installment. It's a very, very nice added touch. Yes, okay, she's got a shaven head. I actually kind of like that too, as well. It adds to it. It just adds to the tone to the movie. But as a whole, as a general, her character in here, I really, really did enjoy. There are other performances in this movie that I really, really enjoy, but they're not really as standout as her character. She is the main standout character in this movie, and I generally really, really enjoyed what she did within this movie. Other things I like, I am a fan of them, like the set designs in the Alien movies. Again, I enjoyed this. It's set in like this prison planet. It's very kind of dirty, dingy, horrible kind of place. I liked what they did with set designs. You really get that feels like you really, really don't want to be there. It's not a nice place anyway, but yet if you throw in a killer alien in as well, it's just going to make this place even worse. And I generally like that feel and what they were trying to produce or what they were trying to show you. The movie itself, what they were trying to show you, or the basic outline of the premise of this movie, I actually really enjoyed as a general. And these are pretty much the only things that I really, really like about this movie. The rest of everything that I'm about to say may come across as hate, but it's not. It's just things that I picked up on which I dislike. And when I say dislike, there's not many movies where I can actually say hate certain things of this movie. One of the first things I dislike is, and this is not a spoiler in any way, shape or form, is the death of Hicks and Newt. It's a massive kick in the teeth very, very, very early on in this movie, and it makes it feel like all the hard work that they did in Aliens, or the end of Aliens, it was all for nothing. It's not, for me, it wasn't good, and it does take a while for me to adjust to that, because to see them in this next installment after the events of Aliens would have been a very nice touch. Then yes, they could have been killed off like midway through this movie, but to have them return would have upped this rating of this movie quite a lot, to be fair. Yes, I know there's a time gap between Aliens and Alien, or Alien 3, but they could have reintroduced their characters in a certain respect, which would just made it not so much of a kick in the teeth. Other things in this movie, plot. At certain points of this movie, it actually honestly feels like there's absolutely no plot in any way, shape, or form. It almost feels like the writers went, do you know what? They spent months and months and months writing this movie, and it got to the end or got close to finishing it, and they went, do you know what? Most of the fans know the Alien movies. They know pretty much what's going to happen. We'll just do a brief outline of the plot and all that kind of stuff, and just see where it goes. I hope they don't notice we didn't really put a lot of thought into the plot. And it does show, to be fair. There are plot holes in this movie. There are certain things that don't make sense. I liked, and there isn't a huge plot until near the end. And to be honest with you, it becomes very, very predictable in this movie about exactly what is going to be happening or what is going to go on in this movie. It is quite predictable, I have to be honest with you, and there are certain things about this movie which they touch on but they don't really explain. I think there is a line in here where Ripley goes, she's never seen one like this before or behaved like this before, but they've never really gone into depth with it. But thinking about it now, without giving away the plot, I think they do kind of explain it in a certain respect, but it's a lot more aggressive in this one, but they never really tell you why it's evolved or how it's evolved or why it's acting. They do tell you why it's acting slightly different around certain people, which I'm not going to get into in case you haven't seen it, but it's just, you know, the plot in this movie just seems a little bit non-existent in places, and there were certain things just I felt like weren't explained enough. There is more of a plot towards the end of this movie, but it is not hard to figure out about midway through this movie about exactly what's going to happen in this plot. Other things that I dislike, and this one is probably one of the biggest dislikes. I am a massive fan of animatronic work in movies, especially when it comes to something like this. But in this movie, they decided to go down the CGI route for the alien, which is absolutely atrocious. And I am not afraid in any way of sharing my thoughts on this. It is horrendously bad. I have to be honest with you. I would rather have gone down the route of less is more in this movie. So, okay, there's a lot more animatronic and you don't see a huge amount of the alien, but to go down the CGI route and badly as well, it just looks like a cartoon on a screen. Very, very poorly done, very, very poorly designed, and I would rather have seen the animatronic kind of work or more of the animatronic kind of work in this movie. It is a massive dislike. It's probably one of the biggest dislikes in this whole movie for me. There are other things I dislike. There is a lot of characters in this movie, which are not necessarily needed, but yeah, I know exactly why they're in there. They're the kind of death scene count factor for this movie. There are characters you see 1 minute and then you don't see the next, and there are just certain things that are going on, and you just go, I don't know who you are. Literally, there are certain points where this character pops up and go, who are you? I haven't seen you in this movie at all. And it just felt like there was just a few too many characters. But again, I understand why they had so many more characters in here, because they were trying to show you exactly what one single alien could do in a bigger community. And I do generally like that kind of side of it. It's just that there were certain points in there I was just like going, I have not seen you in this movie at all yet. Where did you come from? But like I said, it's not a huge problem, that fact, or that problem for me. It's just something that I picked up on. As like I said at the beginning of this video, as a whole, as a general, I found myself entertained, and I do get more enjoyment out of. I got more enjoyment out of this watch of this movie than I ever have done in the 3 or 4 times I've watched it before. So if I was to rate this, and I tried to rate this, I had this as a 7 out of 10 when I first wrote down my notes. I'm now going to probably downgrade it to a 6 out of 10, strictly because of the things that I dislike. There are some issues with this movie, with editing, plots, and all that kind of stuff. The CGI xenomorph in this is absolutely atrocious in every way, and that's probably why I downgraded it, because I've actually thinking about it more, it just makes me dislike it just that little bit more. So it is a 6 out of 10. That's 100% definite. So, if you've seen this movie, please tell me what you think. Put it in the comments down below. If you haven't seen this movie, please go and watch it, and then tell me what you think and put it in the comments down below. Remember to stay tuned for 5 bonus facts to do with Alien 3, which are coming up right about now. Okay, 5 bonus facts to do with Alien 3. Fact number 1 is $7 million was used on sets that were never used actually in the movie because of the ever-changing script and plotline, which I have mentioned in the movie review. It is quite evident that there is a few little plot holes and script changes in here, and it does show within this movie. Fact number 2 is that Michael Biehn was severely, deeply hurt when he wasn't asked to return to reprise his role in this next installment, and I 100% understand why he is as well. I would be as well, because it is, like I said in the movie review, a massive kick in the teeth. To see his return just alone would have been enough, even if they killed him off halfway through the movie, just to have him return or deal with another threat of the alien. At least it adds to a bit more of the tension into this movie. And I would be in exactly the same situation as what he would. I would have been deeply hurt as well. Fact number 3, the film spent over a year in editing. Again, because of the rewrites, apparently this was being constantly rewritten while they were filming. The plot and the storyline was constantly being rewritten. And you can see that this in the movie as well. You can see why it spent so long in editing. There are just certain things off point in this movie. I don't know if anybody else kind of picked up on them, but I kind of did, and it does show that it spent a lot of time in post-production. So, fact number 4, Charles S. Dutton in this movie is a real life former convict who basically cleans himself up before going into acting. And I can honestly say I reckon I picked up on that in the movie before I even read up on the facts. I reckon because I just had this feeling I could just tell that there was more of a backstory to him and the way he come across in this movie. I just, I think it shows a little bit, especially when it come into a situation of being in a prison. I think it showed quite a lot. So, fact number 5: the original budget was 645 million, which included a fee of 5.5 million for Sigourney Weaver. So she became a multi-millionaire from just doing that movie alone. Why am I not an actor? Why is not everybody an actor? Oh, that's right, I can't act. It's as simple as that. But I do believe that the final budget was 65 million US dollars. And again, you can see that there was money spent on this movie as well. So, again, on that note, there are 5 bonus facts to do with Alien 3. And trust me, there were a lot on Alien 3. It's just that I want to try and shorten this video down, which I don't think I've managed to do. So on that note, I hope you all have a great rest of the day, whatever you're doing. Please take care and goodbye.